Hey guys, so thanks for being here and listening to my speech about how trauma affects brain development. So, have you ever wondered why some people react so strongly to stress while others seem calm in the exact same situation? The answer is often not personality, it is trauma. For me, this topic is very personal. My experience of trauma started at a really young age. My mom was always working, and my dad was not a good person to be around. Sorry, my husband's phone. By the time I was about 8 years old, I was basically raising myself. I had to make sure I got up for school, I got ready, I handled things on my own without much guidance or even support. And because of that, I struggled in school more than I realized at the time. I had a hard time focusing. I felt overwhelmed easily, and I didn't understand why. It also felt like no one really stopped long enough to notice that something might actually be wrong. I was just expected to keep going like everything was normal. At the time, I didn't realize how much that would affect me. I just thought that's how life was supposed to be. But as I got older, I started to notice that I reacted to stress differently than other people. Even small situations can make me feel anxious or overwhelmed in ways that didn't seem to match what was actually happening. It wasn't until I got to college that someone pointed it out. It was one of my professors noticed that something seemed off and talked to me about it. The moment really stood out to me because I already knew something wasn't right, but I didn't know how to explain it. And that conversation pushed me to start getting help, and now I'm in a place where I am able to manage things better with the support and resources that are available to me. Trauma is something many people experience, especially during childhood. However, what most people do not realize is that trauma can actually change the way the brain develops and functions. According to the National Institute of Mental Health, trauma can affect memory, emotional regulation, and decision making. This matters because trauma does not just stay in the past. It follows people into adulthood, and it can impact their relationships, their behavior, their mental health. Today, I'll explain how trauma affects brain development, why it is so serious, why it's an issue, and what solutions can help reduce the impact. Trauma, especially during childhood, can have long-term effects on the brain. When a person experiences repeated stress or traumatic events, the brain stays in a constant state of alert, often called fight or flight. I don't know if you've heard of it. According to the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, the CDC, children who are exposed to trauma are at a higher risk for anxiety, depression, and behavioral issues later in life. I have all three, and it's because of this. That's why this is so important to me. It happens because trauma affects key parts of the brain. The amygdala, however you say it, which controls your fear and your emotional responses, becomes overactive. But at the same time, the prefrontal cortex, which is responsible for your decision making and your self-control, becomes less active. And because of this, individuals may struggle with emotional regulation, focus, and trusting others even. Looking back at my own life, that makes a lot more sense. The way I reacted to stress was not random. It was my brain trying to protect me based on what I had experienced growing up. It is not just a personal issue. It is a societal problem. Trauma can affect school performances, relationships, and even stability. Harvard University's Center on the Developing Child explains that toxic stress can disrupt brain development and lead to even long-term challenges. Without support, trauma can lead to lifelong struggles and even affect future generations. The good news is that trauma does not have to define a person's future. The brain is capable of healing with the right support. One effective solution is therapy, especially trauma-informed therapy. According to the National Institute of Mental Health, therapy helps individuals process their experiences and develop healthier coping skills. So another solution is creating supportive environments. Your family, schools, and communities can play a major role by providing stability, understanding, and emotional support. So, in my case, something as simple as a professor noticing and speaking up made the world of difference. It showed me that support and awareness really do matter. Early intervention is also extremely important. The sooner trauma is addressed, the better the outcome. Programs that support children and families can reduce long-term damage and improve overall well-being. The solutions work because they help regulate the brain. Therapy can calm the amygdala and strengthen the prefrontal cortex. Supportive environments can reduce stress and promote emotional stability. So, research from the American Psychological Association shows that positive relationships and consistent support can significantly improve outcomes for individuals who have experienced trauma. In conclusion, trauma is more than just a difficult experience. It can change the brain and affect a person's entire life. However, without the right support, healing is possible. For me, understanding trauma helped me realize that what I experienced was real, but it also showed me that I'm not stuck that way. Getting help and having someone recognize that I was going through made a difference. I encourage all of you to be more aware how trauma affects others. Take the time to listen, be patient, and not immediately judge someone's reactions. Even small actions like showing understanding or even speaking up when you notice someone struggling can make a life-changing difference. By increasing awareness and support, we can help individuals overcome trauma and build healthier lives. Thank you.